Welcome to the IAMCP Profiles and Partnership Podcast, where Microsoft partners come together to share stories, strategies, and successes. I'm your co-host, Anthony Carano, and today we're diving into how IAMCP members work side by side to grow their businesses and make a bigger impact, both locally and globally. IAMCP is more than just a network. It's a thriving community where partners help each other thrive in today's rapidly changing tech landscape. Whether you're a longtime member or joining us for the first time, you'll discover practical insights for building powerful, lasting business relationships. Today, our guest is Devesh Aggarwal, CEO at CompuSoft Advisors, an APAC winner and global finalist for P2P Solution Provider Awards, and an APAC winner for the P2P Advisor Awards. But before we jump in, ask yourself, what would happen to your business if, instead of competing with your peers, you built alliances that turned rivals into collaborators? And how do you build trust with your business partners? And how long does that really take? And finally, what could greater transparency and clearer communication do for your collaborations? These are some of the questions and more that we're going to discuss in this upcoming episode. Get ready to hear inspiring stories and proven tips from partners who've turned teamwork into growth. Let's get started. Well, Devesh, really glad to have you on the show. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for hosting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, let's, as we kind of get started here, tell us a little bit about yourself and the company.
So basically, I'm Devesh Aggarwal. I started this company way back in 1997. So it's more than 25 years I've been in this company. And one thing that we started with was always application, enterprise application. We started with small financial accounting packages, and then we migrated to Microsoft Dynamics. And so I've been doing Microsoft Dynamics since 2006. So it's 20 years we complete this year where we've been working with Microsoft on Dynamics.
Wow. So you've seen a lot of change.
You bet. And every year Microsoft surprises us more.
Always. That's the one
Yeah.
constant, right? Well, excellent. Well, thanks for being on.
Devesh, can you tell us, this story that we're about to embark on? Can you tell us a little bit about the client? What industry that we're in, the size, the tech that you implemented, and the challenges that we're facing as you were getting started.
Basically, the story that we're talking about for which we won the award was there were two separate stories. So I will talk about both separately. One was a big IT services. It's a global IT services company. Okay, so before I get into the story, I'll set the context for that. So, like I said, we very strong in Microsoft Dynamics, but we don't do all the workloads of Microsoft Dynamics. So we do the Dynamics CRM part of it, and then the Dynamics Business Central or the erstwhile Navision. These are the two that we focus on as CompuSoft. So when we were talking to this company, which is an IT services company, we understood that they are deploying Dynamics Financial Operations, or FNO as people call it, for worldwide across all the geographies. And they were looking for a partner to deploy it in India because India has its own logistic, the taxation, the compliance challenges, and they wanted a local partner to do that. So they approached us. They said, "Can we do that?" And as I was very transparent from day one, I said, "See, I don't have the skill sets, but I can partner with somebody and do that." And that's when this whole engagement started. And so we identified one partner who has the similar ideology as what we do. They have also been in the industry for 15 plus years, and they specialize in FNO, and they have done similar multi-country deployments. So that was the reason where we partnered with them, because we checked the credentials, we checked what they've done in the past, the ideologies matched. So that's how we came together and we bid for this project and we got the project. And we have completely deployed it. They've gone live in India. And in fact, they've liked us so much, the combination, they are using our team now to deploy in Australia and some other countries where they've not yet gone live.
We all know that award-winning collaborations working with partners don't just happen by accident. What practices, frameworks, or agreements did you put in place to make this partnership work?
So there were, see, one thing which I have learned over the last 20 years in working with partners is the partnerships that last are not transaction based, and they have to be long term, they have to be strategic, and they need to coexist not just for one transaction and across multiple transactions, and which is where we define a rule between the partnership that we have formed with Exium, is that the geography, our team gets involved in the project management piece of it. Since we also have the domain expertise, we also have, it was just that we did not have the product expertise because we are not an FNO guy. We didn't have an FNO team. So we got involved more from a project PMO perspective. We were doing the client interfacing, and they were bringing the knowledge, the domain, as well as the product expertise. So that's the kind of governance that we set amongst ourselves. And like I said, transparency was very key. So customer knew he is talking to two partners, though technically they are two different legal entities, but we come to them as single voice.
Anthony, I know you have some questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, what I'd like you to. You said something really interesting. You said about like with the partnerships that they're not transaction, but they're really like was strategy based. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure, sure. So in fact, the others. So before I get into the elaborate of that, can I complete the other story also?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So like this was that IT services company that I spoke about, and we partnered with Exium. There was another customer where we identified that there's a manufacturing company getting into global modern trade, setting up an e-commerce practice, and they are India-based manufacturing, and they wanted to go international. So while Exium, and they also wanted FNO, so we identified FNO was the right product for them in during our pre-sales cycle. Then we identified another partner who had done something similar, and who had that expertise, and we got them along for that project, and we delivered that project as well. Now coming to the point of strategy. So how do we ensure that these partnerships remain long term? So between Exium, CompuSoft, and ABS, these are the partners we are talking. We actually formed an alliance.
Mm.
So if you see, there is a website by the name of acaglobal.in. So ACA is Exium, C is CompuSoft, and the last is ABS.
Mm.
So between the three of us, we do the entire Dynamics workload, whether it is Project Ops or FNO or CRM or Business Central. Between the three of us now, we have a team strength of more than 500 people. And between the three of us now today, we boast of almost the biggest Dynamics partner in India.
Wow. Wow. That's fantastic. Well, so I know because you started your company in, I think you said in 97.
Yes.
What, and obviously that, now, if, fast forward here to, 2026 and you've got, you formed this alliance, the largest dynamics provider, like I said, with this alliance, in India, what's a pivotal moment, right, in your journey that shaped how you approach partnerships? Second question would be is how would you think things look if that moment hadn't happened?
Okay. So the pivotal moment in each, see, okay, all the three of us are more than 15 years or 20 years in business. Let me put it that. So all of us have seen the market, won a lot of deals, lost a lot of deals. But the pivotal movement started coming when the large SIs, like the big fours, started coming to the market and eating our business, which we thought we were always good at. And they came in with the consulting arm. We were always the implementation partners. We didn't have the so-called consulting arm what the big fours have. And they came in with the strength. We were talking about 500 numbers, 1,000 numbers, or whatever it is. So that became a pivotal moment in our journey, that we realized that we need to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot take on those big brothers alone. And if we need to sustain in this market, we need to coexist.
How And I know we'll kind of get into a little bit more about, balancing strengths and weaknesses, but just I'm going to kind of take a little track, on that. It's like how do you, I'm trying to think the question is like thinking about like just managing it like with I mean there's obviously the logistics for project management. That's some things that are pretty set there. But just like the culture like company culture and aligning around that. Also like to tag on to that is where you have this alliance, but you're all also trying to grow, got your own business mission and goals and things that you're trying to achieve individually. How do you balance all of that?
So it all happens at a trust level. See, at the end of it, the three owners that we are talking about, the three partner owners that we working together, it is the trust and the maturity that we have at our level. We know that where we stand, what is my strength versus what is an Axiom strength or what is an ABS strength. And so does an Axiom owner, so does the ABS owner. So for me, the partnership happens only when there's trust, when there's faith in each other. So I feel a partnership at this level is no different than a marriage where somebody has to compromise somewhere. Okay, it's so we all know that we've all lived through that, and many times. So luckily for us, between the three of us, so if you know India, uh, I'm based out of Mumbai, which is in the west corner of India. The Axiom is based in Delhi, which is the north of India, and ABS is based in Bangalore, which is the south of India.
Okay.
So geography also we cover the entire India. So that was one big advantage that we had with each other. Uh, CRM as a platform, nobody does other than our company. BC, all of us do. And FNO, between Axiom and ABS, they have specialized in their industries. So by default, it was like we know if a project comes, who can do what. It was all well planned. It was not planned, but it all fell into place.
How long did it take to build up to that level of trust to create the alliance?
So if you ask me, we started talking about something small at first at an exam my level or ABS my level or ABS exam level. Sometime in 2015, 2016, we did one or two transactions. We got the comfort. The teams got the comfort. And then I think this was just before COVID or post-COVID. I mean, forgetting. Post-COVID, we formed this alliance.
Okay.
I don't think partnerships can be made in one day or one transaction. That's something which I believe in.
So it sounds like you guys have been working together on some projects for, a good at least 5 years or so, and then you form the alliance.
Yeah, so those were more transactional. They were not formalized. We were not going to the customers saying that we are an alliance. It was like, okay, you want this done, I can get it done from someone, but then it was not a formal alliance. Now today we can go to market, we go and announce that okay, we are an alliance.
Nice. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, let me ask you this then. Is there within just as I tell you what, you can answer this one of two ways: either when working within the alliance, or working with partners maybe outside of the three. Can you share a time when maybe just things didn't go as planned, and what did you learn about resilience or leadership from that experience?
Yeah, I have enough stories where the things didn't fall in place. And luckily, none within the three of us, but more about the other partners outside the alliance. Uh, so those I learned in the hard way where they were more transactional based. So they approached us, they told us that, okay, there's a project that we want to do in CRM. We are more than happy to help. But then many times the scopes were not defined. And since they were not in our geography, we were not meeting the customer on day one, understanding the scope. So the biggest challenge that happens in when the partnership fails is if both the partners are not involved in from pre-sale stage. So learning from that mistake, now today I can boast of having partnerships in Singapore, in Australia, in Middle East, across APAC basically, and Middle East. where I have the way I work with the partners with whom I work is I don't give them a rate today. I say I want transparency. If you don't want to work with transparency, I don't want to partner. That's my approach of partnership. And we say that whatever price you feel like you want to get an order at, I know my delivery skills, I know what I'm capable of, but involve me at pre-sales. I will set that expectation right whether it can be delivered, yes or no. If it cannot be delivered, we will say no at that stage.
Mm-hmm,
It should
mm-hmm.
not happen that somebody overcommits and then gets the order that we need this to be delivered.
That could get you in all kinds of trouble.
You bet. You bet.
Uh, well, what I know Rudy's gonna have just kind of a few questions here. I know, especially covering things around AI and just kind of things juggling with companies. But before, yes, I want to just I want to go back to like a question about like within the alliance, and obviously you've got a lot of trust and maturity for those. So obviously that's the foundation, but for those that would really that are listening to this and like that idea, the concept of the alliance, what would be maybe the top, in addition to having trust, maturity, and transparency? All right, so I want to press you for some other things here, some other keys. They say, listen, if you create an alliance, make sure you do these two or three things that, like, so in addition to having the trust and maturity and transparency.
See, the biggest thing you need is at the leadership level, your thoughts need to align with each other. One cannot be over aggressive and one cannot be over conservative. They need to match. The wavelengths need to match. If at a leadership level, if all are talking the same language, we understand each other, then everything will work out. Even though if like today, I can tell you that even though it is not my customer or it is not an Exium customer, an ABS customer, but they're having problem with the project, they don't have a hesitation in calling each other and saying, okay, can you help me out with the project? My team is not able to solve it. So that's the kind of comfort we get work with.
Nice. No, that's really good. Thank you.
Okay, Dennis, you've been a Microsoft partner for a long time, and as a Microsoft partner, we're constantly having to reinvent ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so now AI is front and center for all of us partners. With AI automation reshaping the partner landscape, and we know how it's a pretty dramatic shift for everyone. What's the one area where you can see partners both leveraging and underestimating the opportunity and or the risk?
So, okay, I'll answer that question in two parts. One is from an alliance perspective, how we are approaching AI, and then I'll say more from a partnership for every other partner in general. So, from an alliance perspective, like I said, we are doing CRM. We are the ones who have started working with Copilots and the Microsoft OpenAI and Azure AI since almost 1.5 year now, and we've already got some 5, 6 custom agents in the marketplace. We already have a lot of agents in production environment. So today within the alliance, if anybody has a requirement in AI, they know that they can count on us. So that's how we have positioned ourselves. So that's one. Now, how does a current partner position AI and how do they adopt AI as a practice? That's something that I would want to highlight. And that's something where I personally feel Microsoft is also going on. That's my opinion because AI is not a transactional product. It's a solution. We need to understand like how in dynamics my sales cycles can be anything between 3 months to 6 months. Sometimes it goes up to 1 year. Even for an AI, I have longer sales cycle. I need to make the customer understand how an AI can be put to use. My pre-sales cycle can be minimum 1.5 months. May need to do multiple workshops with them to identify the right use case. And the what I am seeing in the market, at least in the India and even the ANZ market, because I also have an office in Sydney, so we operate out of ANZ as well. So the dynamics partners or the partners focusing on enterprise applications, they are the ones who are being more successful in AI compared to the non-dynamics or the non-applications based partners. The reason being, we understand the processes. Our team understands the processes. Our team understands the domain of the customer, and then we can say, okay, where we can adopt AI to streamline the process, to automate the process, and where AI would be a better fit. Which is where I keep on telling partners, I keep on telling Microsoft guys that please use AI as a solution sale approach and not as a transactional approach. Don't try to just give AI credits and people don't consume them. It's of no use. So adoption of AI is more important than selling of AI. Does that answer your question, Rudy?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. There's a lot of, there's just an awful lot of opportunities there for any partner if you take that approach. A lot of
Yes.
opportunity. So, you've talked about building the alliance and collaborating with your partners. So, can you share a story from your collaborations where you've had to juggle the technical execution, the team dynamics, and customer expectations, and how you found the balance that made it a success?
I can talk about one of the scenarios that we're talking about, the IT services company who was looking at deploying multiple geographies. So even in an IT, in that customer environment, their project team was not based out of India. They were a European company, so the cultural difference was much. The expectation, what happens across geographies culturally, is different. So even though the partners with whom I am working, they may have a team, sometimes language becomes a barrier. So those also become something where if required, I put in a guy to ensure that language doesn't the communication doesn't stop. Because at the end of it, for any project to become successful, communication is the key. If things are not communicated properly, if the expectations are not set properly, no project can be successful. That's the dynamics that we feel, and many times the partner whoever is front ending that entire opportunity or that entire deal, we go that extra mile to ensure that even though the team may fall short sometimes, I don't mind putting it some additional functional resources as required to ensure that the customer gets what they're looking for.
Oh, definitely putting your customers' needs first definitely comes first. Yeah,
Yes.
always does. Always does. So, how do you balance your own company's capabilities? You talked about this alliance. So, how do you balance your own company's capabilities with your partner's strengths to ensure that the customer experience is a seamless value rather than just two vendors working side by side? And I think you've alluded to that during the story.
So see, to balance, like I said, first of all, for the customer doesn't see us as two separate legal entities. That is something which I always keep on. I repeated earlier. I keep on telling everybody whom I talk about this partnership and why we are successful. For the customer, they're talking to the partner who is the front ending partner. So amongst ourselves, we call whoever is front ending as the front ending partner. So if I'm the front-ending partner in these two opportunities that we are talking about, these two projects that we were talking about, so for the customer, if they're talking to anybody from Devesh's team, irrespective of whoever is delivering, he or she would take the ownership of that entire project. So that accountability comes with the front-ending partner, because at the end of it, it's my word to the customer that this is what we are delivering.
All right. So, have you ever run into a situation? I mean, you've mentioned taking ownership. That's very, very important, and I've always stressed that with my teams as well. So, have
Yeah.
you ever run into a situation where multiple ownerships take place, and then how do you deal with that? Because that could happen. Have you ever had that happen
That
to you?
happens. That happens. That happens.
Yeah.
Let's face it, that happens, and that's where our leaders like us, we need to step in. Sometimes we need to control our team, tell our team that okay. That's why I said the marriage example where we need to compromise sometimes. So we need to. That's our balance at the leadership level that we need to identify between the leaders, and we talk regularly and say okay, for this project, so I may need to take a step back, or I may ask my team to take a step back because there may be some, I won't say an ego clash, but something about a view that one team member may have different from the other team member.
Yeah. Well, and I think you mentioned communication is very important. So whether it's a marriage or a
Communication.
business partnership, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
very important. And compromise. Don't forget the word compromise.
Never forget that. Never forget
Yeah.
that.
Anthony, you got any
Yeah,
questions?
no, that's been great. And this has been just a really insightful conversation. I mean, I love just hearing about how you take things like intangibles around relationship, trust, and maturity, but how it's really been utilized to create real business impact, right, with the alliance and with your respective firms and what you've been able to accomplish. And so I think Rudy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think out of we've been doing this podcast a year and a half. I think this is probably the first story, at least I've heard, where you're hearing about this alliance type approach. So this has really been refreshing. So I want to thank you for that on the just in the onset. My question is, if you can give your younger self one piece of advice about building partnerships in this ecosystem, and I say like with younger self, still a young man, Devesh, but you've got a lot of maturity, and you and your alliance partners, a lot of obviously senior level leadership. But if you can go back to 1997, right? What would you say?
I would say first build your expertise, ensure that you have whatever you are delivering, people have confidence in what you can deliver. If people see that whatever you say you actually deliver, people would want to partner with you. That's point one. Secondly, don't partner just for a transaction. Never ever look at a partnership which is transaction based. Look at a long term, because a long term transaction partnership will depend only on trust. I have like today I am in India. I am associated with a lot of partners associations. Like we have IMCP. I've been an active member of IMCP. There's another partner association in the area, which is not just Microsoft partners, which is across all OEM partners. So I've been actively involved in that as well, and I have seen a lot of partnerships fail purely because they don't trust each other. It's like they treat each other as always competition, while we may compete in one transaction, but let's look at a longer picture. We all need to coexist. And
Mm-hmm.
there's always a big brother waiting to take our share.
Mm,
So do you want to fight with each other and let the big brother take it? Or do you want to actually win together?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Well, Devish, I really appreciate your time. This has been insightful. So thank you. What are some ways for folks who would like to kind of reach out to you? What are some of the best ways they can get in touch with you?
You can always email me on Devesh, Devesh, at compusoftadvisors.com. So that's the best way to reach me. Or if you, I'm more than happy to share my number. It's an India number, mobile number. Feel free to call me. So it's India +91 and then 9820062181.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. And I hope I could give some value to the listeners and share my journey as how we are in last 20 years of dynamics practice, or more than 25 years in business, where we have been successful and where we have failed. So we
Absolutely,
need to learn from our mistakes and hope that it's insightful for others.
absolutely. No, it's been great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot,
Anytime.
Anthony. Thanks, Rudy.
Take care, Devish.
Wow, that was a great episode. I really appreciate a lot of the great insights that Devis shared.
Absolutely. I think he had a lot of good advice for all of us.
Yeah, especially as a senior, and a seasoned, leader with a lot of maturity. I really appreciated what he had to say. Especially I mean everything was really good. I was taking a lot of notes throughout the interview, but specifically at the end when he talked about the advice he would give his younger self, going all the way back to '97, and just how he hit on build your expertise. You want to have people to have confidence in what you deliver. And that's not only good for the customer, but it's also then good, for those when you're attracting partners. And the second thing he said is, on that note, is don't partner just for a transaction. Look at the long term. Look at just the quality of the relationships. I really appreciate what he had to say about that.
Yeah, and one of the things that he shared in this was about having really good transparency and communication in your business relationships,
Mm-hmm.
especially now in the world of AI, because you've got to go out there and sell the solution and put the customer's needs first. And I thought he shared some really good advice there. And that is something for that we've always stressed at IAMCP in just having those key principles helping you build your business. Whenever working in partnerships, you have to be transparent, and you have to keep communications front and center, and just keep working towards that. And the more you do that, the the more that'll help you build bigger, deeper business relationships, and will help you grow your business.
What did you think about? Because we've interviewed a lot of partners, through this podcast, and I really found fascinating, how they not only they just went beyond just hey, partnering, but they actually created an alliance.
That's something that partners have done, but this one was a very much more formal in the fact that they've built a website and they're using that to build a business. So they've built a formal business relationship separate from their individual practices. And
Hmm.
I found that really interesting. So that's one question that again, how did these guys meet? How long did it take them to build that uh, business relationship that they trusted each other enough to go out and do that? That's really,
Hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the fact that where he started off. I think he said they started working together. This group of partners like in around 2015, and it was just a series of just individual projects over the course of 4 or 5 6 years, and then it was after COVID, then they really formalized that alliance. But so it's just that's a lot of time to be working with folks. I mean, to eventually form that alliance. But I thought what was interesting too is what caused them as a tipping point to actually take that next step into that alliance was as they were trying to create a competitive advantage as they saw some of these other larger companies trying to come in into the market, that they needed as a way to stay relevant, stay competitive, and grow their practices, provide value to their customers, but doing so just required just a level of trust and maturity at that senior business levels to make that happen. So like I said, I found his insights really fascinating, and appreciate everything that he had to say.
Yeah, and I think one critical thing that came up there is they understood, and they did not use this term, which other people have used in the podcast before. They understand each other's swim lanes very, very well, and I knew you'd like that. They understand each other's swim lanes, and they stay within those. But then, by understanding that, then they understand how to build the alliance to grow their business. So that was a good tip, a very good
Yeah.
tip, and I give them kudos for recognizing that.
Yeah. Great episode. A lot of great insights for sure.
Yeah, it really was. So thank you, all of you, for joining us on this episode of IMCP Profiles in Partnership, powered by Dunamis Marketing. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and find it useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. One of the best ways to partner for success is to join the IAMCP, a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. IAMCP members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, or new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. To learn more, visit the website at www.iamcp.org.